She has set us up, and this is the first of what will be many prospects who join us involving in the NFL draft in our coverage. And we appreciate Connor. Thanks for having the time to jump on with us today and being our first NFL draft prospect in a way. So I saw the news about the NFL Combine. I'm not surprised by that, but what did that mean to you?
It obviously is like a blessing and stuff like that to be invited to the Combine, but I don't really know how to react. You feel like you just like work your whole life for like that one goal, and then once you achieve it, it's like there's still more work to be done, all that stuff.
Connor, this part of the offseason is different than any offseason you probably had before in that you don't know who you're preparing for specifically, but you're preparing for the draft. What is the differences that you are going through now compared to if you were just going to go back in and get ready for spring football?
Yeah, so there's a lot, like obviously like all the guys like I train with, we're all prepping for like the Combine and stuff, so working on like our 40 technique, our L drill and 5-10-5 technique, like all the techniques, and broad jump and bench, and so it's just like a combination of that, and also trying to like better yourself as like an overall athlete and football player.
Connor, what have you learned? What have they told you, either those who you are now hooked in with as far as your agency, or what have you learned that people like or maybe want to see more of or better?
I don't really know exactly, but just like there's like I have my pros and cons that I have to work on like football wise, and then just like off the field wise, just like for like the Combine and stuff. I just got to get faster in the 40.
So Connor, do you have when you think about, you mentioned the dream? Did you, when you were a little kid, describe the differences in the dream you had when you were a little kid and the reality of chasing it?
You know, growing up, like I played football since I don't even know how long. I've been playing football pretty much my whole life with, you know, family and friends and all those people. And like growing up, like obviously like you watch NFL football and it's like you're like, all right, like that's the goal. And then you get to like high school, and then you start getting offers, and then you get to college, and then like you're done, and then you're preparing for the draft, and you get invited to the Combine, all that stuff. It's like it's here, like it's time. And so now it's like you just have to keep doing what you've been doing your whole life and don't change it up and just keep going forward.
How much did, and you played pretty much exclusively at tackle, but they, offensive linemen are supposed to be flexible. How much did what you do at Baylor help you think, be prepared for the National Football League?
They did a really good job because I had, 2 head coaches, a few offensive line coaches, a few strength coaches, and that kind of like forced me to be like adaptable and like learn a new system and learn new techniques and like talk in certain ways and say things in certain ways. And so like that really helped me. That kind of helped me like be adaptable in the NFL when there's a lot of turnover with coaches and position coaches and all that type of stuff.
I read a review of you at the Senior Bowl, and it was mentioning, of course, the amount of snaps, like 3,500 overall snaps in college, and that people pretty much expected you to feel comfortable in the setting of the Senior Bowl and practices, but you did really, really well in the one-on-ones and pass protection. Could you kind of feel it? Did you feel that you performed well?
Yeah, I did. It was a little different because like we had like the Patriot staff, so we're doing stuff like how they operate, and so I was a little nervous for that. But I ultimately just like fell back on like what I've been taught like my whole life and just like how to like approach a practice and like drills and stuff like that. So I really wasn't like sweating it too much. I was just gonna go into one-on-ones or team or whatever drill we're doing and just do my thing.
So did you walk in the Patriot staff and did you have the moment of like, oh crap, that's Bill Belichick?
I feel like the whole team did. You can kind of feel when he like walks in the room. You walk in the room, there's like 4 dudes around, and you just feel like a change in like the atmosphere just like happens when he walks in the room.
Connor, when you reflect back on 2021 and the year Baylor had, and it was spectacular, everything pretty much, almost everything went perfect. And then last year, the expectations were sky high. We saw and heard from Dave Aranda throughout the year that there was kind of a group of a lot of young players who had not experienced it and weren't quite ready, and then a bunch of veteran players who experienced it, and then it was maybe a little bit of hit and miss for whatever he was talking about or whatever reasons. What do you think he was saying?
He's pretty much saying, like, we had guys who haven't been through like those hard times in college football, losing and not playing your best and doing all that stuff, and then we had guys who've been at the highest of highs and lows of lows. And so he was just pretty much saying we really weren't able to put it all together like at the same time and have everybody playing their best ball at the same time. And we obviously saw that this past year.
Yeah, you've been through it all, Connor, for sure, in your career at Baylor, and it's certainly a story to tell, especially the young players. We are in Radio Row in Phoenix for the Super Bowl. Do you, obviously that's your professional career goal, is to be at this game, playing in this game. Do you have a favorite Super Bowl memory from growing up?
I think the craziest one I remember watching was the Philly special with like the Philly with the Eagles and the Patriots. I think that's probably like one of the most crazy moments in the past few years, in my opinion.
Connor, what's the grind like? 3,554 snaps at Baylor. What's that like? What's your body feel like?
No, at first you're good to go. You don't really feel much. You're young. And then just like through the years, you start feeling it a little bit more and a little bit more. So you got to start doing more off the field preparation for the on the field stuff. Because on the field will take care of itself, but more so off the field, you got to, we call it like prehab. Like you got to like stretch and ice tub and get treatment when you're not feeling the best to like go on the field to play your best.
Describe Eric Mateos.
And he's a really good guy. He really helped me and all the guys these last 2 years really like expand our horizons with like techniques and stuff like that. I'm just talking on the field right now. Like he helped us do so much like in the system, but like we watch a lot of like teams in the league and just like him teaching us like what they do and like how we can translate it to like what they're doing at Baylor right now. So he really helped me build like a big toolbox of techniques to use in pass pro and run blocking.
You had a bunch of experience back on the offensive line, and at times the running game was just fantastic. A lot of different names and running backs. Some, of course, moved on. Obviously, Abram Smith and Treston Ebner and whatever else. But was it at times last year a little frustrating that you guys weren't more dominant?
There were times where we really weren't happy with our performance, whether it was our fault or just some bad luck or whatever you want to say about it. And obviously, if I go back in time, I would really like to change a few of the outcomes, and a few of the performances. But looking back on it, it really helped me as a player and a person to, like, learn from those mistakes that we made as an O-line and not make those again.
Now, there's a couple of transfers coming in, but, there's young players, but most of you guys are gone. I mean, about 6-7 guys gone, veterans on that offensive line. You talked about Coach Mateos. How do you feel about the young players coming in? I know you don't really know the transfers, obviously, but the young guys that will come up and be able to fill your spots.
Yeah, there's a lot of young talent in that room. I really haven't gotten to see them too much because all the guys are there the last few years, but we got some guys who can play some ball, and Coach Brown and Coach Mateos are going to do their thing as coaches to get those guys as ready as they can be for week one.
Are you, when you move on, and Connor, thank you for your time today, as you move on, what will Baylor University and being a part of that experience, not just in football or as a student athlete, but just the experience at Baylor mean to you?
Man, it's a home, like all forever. Like every time I stop through Waco or spend some time in Waco, it's pretty much the second home now. I enjoyed every second I spent there. I have no regrets in my college career. I feel like I did everything I could to be in the spot that I was in. And looking back on it, I enjoyed every second, all the people I got to meet and encounter and work with and stuff like that.
Final thing, and you kind of alluded to this, the talent in the offensive line position group with Coach Mateos and all the others, Coach Grimes obviously with an influence as well. Is Baylor football in a good spot to turn this back around next year?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Thanks for your time. Good luck going forward. We'll be more in touch with you as we get closer to the draft, and we wish you the very best of luck. Congratulations on the week you had in Mobile, and thanks for your time. Good luck at the Combine.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Connor Galvin, Baylor offensive lineman, had a good week at the Senior Bowl.